My name's Mark, Billy Billingham, better known as Billy. I'm an ex-military guy. I spent over 27, actually probably about 32 years in the military. Joined in '83, left in 2015 officially. I was in the parachute regiment for 9 years. I spent the rest of the time in 22 SES, Special Air Service. I kind of gravitated then towards loving the military. As I said, my schooling went to the side and I thought, this is where I need to go. I knew that's where I wanted to go. I wasn't sure exactly where in the military I wanted to go, but I knew the military was going to be my saving grace. And it turned out to be that a bit later on in life. Also at the age of 15, I got a job. I was working in a factory. Illegal, working the night shift, and I was earning £80 cash a week, which I was giving to my mum, obviously, for the family. And I had an accident. I slipped and fell into a vat of caustic soda, burnt all the skin off my feet, ended up getting rushed to hospital in the middle of the night. And I remember going to the hospital and being told I had to say that I broke into the factory, because if I didn't, everybody else in that factory would have lost their job. They'd have closed the factory down because it was illegal. So that's what I did. The police turned up, but there was no criminal investigation or anything else. It was just me, a little scumbag who had a record anyway, broke into a factory. And it went no further, thank God. And it took a while for me to recover. And in between this period, I applied to join the military as a young soldier. And two things. One, I couldn't go in because of the injuries. So I couldn't join at 16 until these injuries were cleared up. Secondly, they found out I had a broken femur from when I was a kid. I didn't declare that, so that had to be checked. And the other reason was I was just over 8 stone because of boxing at this weight for years, and they said I had to be 10 stone. So I stopped training. I was eating, drinking as best I could, going back and forth to the military careers office, waiting to get in. And I eventually joined just after 17 when I joined the parachute regiment, and that's when my whole life changed. Then, you know, I realised I'd done the right thing. I knew this is where I needed to be, and I was now looking at real men, not little troublemakers from where I was that I thought was a big fish and I wasn't. These were real men, been to war just after the Falklands, respected, and I remember looking and thinking, that's who I want to be. I want to be remembered and respected for something good like these people. And that was my, I've got to do this moment. You know, as a young kid, I think I was, I don't want to call it fearless, I'd actually call it stupid. Nothing bothered me. You know, getting into a fight didn't bother me, nothing. I wasn't scared of anything or anybody. I'd fight people twice my age, 3 times my age, not a problem. But then I realised now I'm stepping into a real man's world. This is an old nonsense bullshit world. And that happened immediately. And I remember standing on a square with 70 other recruits, and I was one of the youngest, and definitely the skinniest, or one of the skinniest. There's 2 of us that are quite skinny. And I remember looking down the line, and it was blokes with big chests, hairy chests, tattoos, moustache, you know, and I was like, wow. And I was a skinny little kid thinking, I'm out my depth. There's no way I'm going to be able to compete with these people. And that was in my mindset, and I was already starting to, you know, mentally lose it and thinking, I ain't going to do it. Then I just thought, I'm here. I'm not going back to that lifestyle. I've got to make this work. And as the weeks went by, the numbers got fewer, and I was still there. And every day I looked down the line and more people went, these big guys were going, it gave me strength and it gave me belief. I thought, I can do this. I'm going to do this. And I started to not get cocky, I got confident and believed in myself. And every day was difficult, every day was different and hard, but I just thought, I can do this. And it went on and went on and went on, and the numbers got fewer and fewer and fewer, and I was still there. And it was hard, you know, and every day I felt like throwing my hand in, but the thing that stopped me doing it was going back to the lifestyle and the way I was. I couldn't do it. There was only one way I was going to go back to that, is if they said to me, you have failed, you're out. Until they tell me that, I'm going to keep going. And it was hard work. And at the end of it, there was 7 of us originals left, and I was the champion recruit. I was actually the best recruit for that troop. They were all great guys, don't get me wrong, I just shone a little bit more than, and I think, to be fair, I had an advantage having been in cadets. I knew some of the basic skills, so that helped me along the way. But on the physical side of it, it was hard. It was really hard. I was up against big, hard people. Running with boots, running with weights, being in the gym for 40, 50 minutes of non-stop. Pushing myself. I'd boxed a lot, so I was used to, you know, cardio work, but this was relentless. It was non-stop. There was no breaks, no breaks. You've been screamed at, shouted at, and you're being pushed really through your limits. And obviously the reasons for it are needed. It has to be done, and that's what they did. And yeah, I struggled with it. It was really tough. And then the sort of endurance stuff was something I wasn't really used to. You know, where in civilianisation do you run around the mountains with a house on your back? You don't. And it was building me up for the right reasons to, you know, get ready for potentially joining the battalion and going to war should it happen. And that was what it was all about. So that was difficult, getting used to that. But, you know, I embraced it. I kind of enjoyed it. Every time I did it, I felt like I'd achieved something. And, you know, I've been so used in my school career eating one word: fail. Every exam, fail, fail. When I did P Company as a young 17-year-old kid, it was the first time I'd really had the word Billingham, pass. And it was like, wow, I've just won the lottery. And I'm looking around the room of 40 of us that have attempted these tests, and I was one of 11 that got passed. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I really started believing in myself then. I thought, right, I can do this. And it just, so though going through it was hard, and every day, every run, although I was fit, I was saying to myself, I was kind of, the little angel was saying, throw the towel in and give up. The devil was going, run through the trees, just keep going, you know. And the devil drove me forward on this one, got me through to where I needed to be. At the time, back then in the 80s, Northern Ireland was, it was bad. You know, there was stuff going on the mainland, there was stuff going on in Northern Ireland, people were getting killed, getting blown up, and the enemy, if you like, if that's what we want to call them, were not face-to-face enemy. They were cowards. It was people, you don't know who you're up against. So, you know, the odds were all stacked against you. And it was, I always used to think to myself, I know we're getting trained, I know we're going to get trained highly and it's going to be to the best we can be, but you've really got to be lucky every day. They only have to be lucky once. And I knew that, so I was always on my toes. So it was nerve-wracking. You know, I was a young kid going out to Northern Ireland and people were getting killed, and we had, you know, unfortunately we had people killed on our tour, friends of ours. So it was always in the back of your mind, every day could be your last. Not to over-dramatise it, it was always there, and it had to be there. I think it was a good thing because it kept you alert, didn't get you complacent. You know, you've got to be on your toes every minute you step out of that door. Even when you're indoors, you know, there was chances of getting mortared or whatever. So without painting a dull, crazy picture, it was, you had to stay switched on. It was an intense time. No time in any war, conflict, battle, whatever you want to call it, is the same. There's always surreal moments. There's always something different. It never, ever, I'll be honest with you, and I've done a lot of operational stuff, mainly with the regiment, but also with the parachute regiment. It's never, ever gone to plan. Never, ever. You know, it goes to plan in terms of we got the right result, but what each stage we plan for, out the window. Normally from the moment you either step off the helicopter, step out your vehicle, parachute into the place, everything changes. Communications will always go down, it just happens. So now you got to think on your feet, it's visual all the time, visual and verbal, keeping control of things. Oh my God, there's more than we expected. Oh my God, there's a minefield. Oh my God, there's civilians tied in the middle of this. How do we think on your feet? And every situation is different. I'll be honest, I mean, I enjoyed the tempo of, you know, what the regiment was all about and what conflict, and I loved it. And I wanted more of it. I didn't want to miss out. You know, it's not until you get older you realise actually what you're missing out on is your proper life back home. Kids growing up or doing things or whatever it might be, yeah. So I loved it, and then a lot of people do. You're almost volunteering for the next mission if you could. And I think everybody did. You know, and yeah, so I enjoyed it while I was there. I knew it was a time frame that you could do this for, and I just wanted to get as much as I possibly could out of it. Keep going back and doing whatever it might be, and not always in conflict. Sometimes it was in, you know, natural disaster type stuff. But helping, getting out there, doing some different situation, thinking on your feet and making a difference. That's what it was all about, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Yeah, I think everybody should always have a goal to go forward, you know, whatever that might be. Yeah, and it was always to do. Once that job's done, it's done. That's history. Stop patting yourself on the back and telling yourself how great it was and all the rest of it. Move on. What comes next? What's the next challenge? And I've always had that mentality of, what can I do next? When's my next chance to do something decent and challenge myself? I mean, first I wanted to go into Special Forces, one, to prove I could do it. Like I did that young 17-year-old kid stood on the square looking at people and thinking, can I do it again? am I capable? And I had the same feelings, standing on the square with all these hundreds of people thinking, wow, they all look better, they all look fitter, can I do this? So that was one reason, I wanted to challenge myself, can I do it? Of course I did. Secondly is, I knew what they were doing was making a difference. You know, a massive difference. Although, you know, the army are making a difference, this was a different level. You remember Special Forces work at Tier 1. Tier 1 is world-changing decisions. It's government level, you know, we're not just doing this because we need to do it. This is going to make a massive difference. The London bombings or releasing an hostage or whatever it is, this is going to make a massive impact on the country and possibly the world. That's Tier 1 level stuff. You do SAS training. There's nothing special about SAS training. That is a selective process for you to become a specialist in your next journey in the regiment. And once you get into the regiment, you're then trained to do everything from linguist to demolition to whatever it takes to get a job done. So that's where the specialist part of SAS is. And then as you progress, like anywhere else, you start at the bottom, but there's no real rank structure. Everybody's as important as each other. You all have your input, you all have your output. However, when you go through these missions, Tier 1 missions, which is like I say government level, the London bombings was a Tier 1 operation, for example, you know. That is going to change because suicide bomb, how do we stop this? How do we make the country secure again? Not just the country, but our Ireland, everywhere else that support with us and support us. How do we stop this? That's a Tier 1 operation. In order to lead that, it's led from the top. Nobody below, really it's run from the commanding officer of the regiment. He runs the Tier 1, passed down to the OC, which is the gang that are going to do it, and then the groundwork is the Sergeant Major, which what I was. They're the only people who lead Tier 1 missions, nobody below that. People below that, sergeants, staff sergeants, they lead parts of that mission to achieve that aim. But the lead is really from the top and stops really at the Sergeant Major level. So you build your way up to that. You always feel you want more, you know, and I was very fortunate. You know, unfortunately the world was at frigging war since I joined the regiment in the 90s. You know, we had all the Balkans, we had stuff in Africa, we had stuff in the Middle East, continuous, and as it is today, Afghanistan, you know, it still rolls on, Syria, all this sort of stuff. I was fortunate as a soldier to be involved in all that, all the way through the Balkans, you know, Kosovo, onwards, Macedonia, and also up to Iraq, Afghanistan. So I was involved in all that. So during that time, I did everything from hostage release to people indicted for war crimes, which was probably the best stuff we ever did, you know, capturing people who fucking tortured innocent people, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and I was fortunate to do all that, not just do it, but actually to lead on most of it in the latter part of my career. So it was amazing, so I did everything, and more than once, you know, combat, trench warfare, the whole thing. And those are the tests that for a soldier, I want to know if I could do it. Could I do it? You know, and like I say, I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. And I always, I want the next mission, I want the next mission. And then you get to a stage in your career, you know, where you've got to step back a bit. We ain't as young as we used to be, you know. Leave the swinging through windows, jumping through doors and doing all that sort to the younger. You take a sort of back step of more of the planning side of it and the sweeping up at the end of it. So you go through that, and then I think towards the end, you step away from what we call the Sabre squadrons, which do all the Tier 1 work, and then we do a supporting role. So as a Sergeant Major, then I made WO1, which is like an RSM status, but it's not the RSM. And I was sent out to the jungle school in Brunei, which I love the jungle, so I went out to Brunei and I ran the jungle school for the international sort of training of jungle warfare and tracking. So you're kind of taking a back step, but still a very important step because you're training people at that level, but you're not really on the operational side of it. Operationally, you probably get a call to, hey, how do you think about this? Can you give us an hand on that? So you'll always have a little bit of input where you could. And then after that, you know, I decided that was, you know, I always say, well, by then it was 27 years, and I thought, I'm pretty ready to leave now. You know, I can't go back to what I really want to do, and it's probably a good idea not to. It's time to look at something else and think about where I go next. It's the will to want to do it. Why am I doing it? Because I can do it. Because there'll come a time in my life I won't be able to do it, so I'm going to do it. Do I like it? No. Is it painful? Yes. As soon as I accept that, I'll go ahead and do it. And I don't need a gym. I don't need to walk around and look at myself in the mirror and look at, oh, he's doing. That's what a gym's about. I'm not saying all gyms are that, but a lot are. Everything I need to do, I can do here with my body, and I will. It's whether you want to do it. It's easy to talk about it and not do it. I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, I can do it. Well, stop talking about it. Do it. That's the thing. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, so...
And I do that every morning, mate. I ask my wife. She sometimes has to kick me out of bed.
I mean, you were straight into that water, so yeah. Yeah.
Just get on and do it. You know what? I ain't gonna die. It's for my benefit. And you feel the benefit once you've done it. As soon as you accept yourself, all right, get into the water. It's gonna be cold. So what? I ain't gonna be in forever. I'm gonna be in and I'm gonna be out of it. But I get something out of it. Same as the fitness. The fitness is a passage in time. It's hard. I'm breathing out my ass. It's fucking hell, this is tough. But you know what? I'm doing it. And I'll do it till I can't do it. All right, I've done enough. And then your mind says, well, great. I've now earned that cup of coffee I'm gonna have later, that sandwich, that chance to sit down and be a bit lazy because I've done my bit. My body's ready, my mind is ready. And it's all about your mind. That mindset, clear your mind in the morning, I've done something, you're ready to challenge the day, whatever that might be. Listen, you get a million excuses. I don't want a million excuses, I want one result. Keep your fucking excuses to yourself and just produce the results, because excuses don't make results. There's an old saying, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I wouldn't agree with that, I fucking hate being uncomfortable. But in order to get achievements, it generally means being uncomfortable. And you've got that energy in your tank and that drive to do it. Just use it. Break through it. It doesn't matter. Like getting in that water this morning, I ain't gonna, it's cold. I know it's cold, but fuck it, I'm gonna get in it. Because I can. I can, and I also have a choice. I can or I can't. Like I said, there ain't no can't. Because no one else knows what's inside your head. No one. You have got to say to yourself, I cannot sit in this pity party. You can sit in there and go, blame somebody else is going to drag me forward to do it. People will try, but you still have to make that fucking move. You still have to go for it and go, I want to get through this now, I'm going to go. So everybody, that's what you got to go. You got to say, this is not comfortable. I've got to get through it, and it's a passage in time. I think there's a certain time in your life where you realise what is important. And, you know, I remember reaching that a long way back, just looking around me and thinking, it's not about materials, it's not about money, it's not about status, it's about actually look around us. Everything around us is for us, and most of what is really enjoyable out there is free. It's for everybody. You know, it's just realising that, and also realising, and I hate saying this, but it's very true, there is always somebody worse off than you. No matter what you've, even, you know, from the poorest to the poorest, there's still somebody worse. And realising that, and I think we're all in a position, especially us, we're very privileged and I'm grateful for where I am. We should all give back. Every single day we should be giving back. No, I'm not talking, that has to be finance, knowledge, experience. And we're too scared to tell anybody the truth. That's the biggest thing in the world today as well. We're scared to tell the truth because we're going to upset somebody. Well, you know what? Life's about being upset. Life's about failing. But life's about getting back up again and moving fucking forward. You need to be told sometimes because we all become cocooned in our little world and we don't see what everybody else sees around us. So it's good to be told. But we're too scared to say it. Oh no, we're going to upset. Fucking I'll tell it. I say it.
Thank you so much to Mark Billy Billingham. Today's video was sponsored by Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now get the Rise and Grind t-shirts and the Hardest Worker in the Room Gym Series hoodie vests, all linked down below. Supporting us on Mulliganbrothers.com makes all of this possible. 100% of the profits go back into our film crew being able to fly around the world and film these mini documentaries. Have a blessed and productive day and go inspire some change. Peace.